Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we ended up continuing with our Void Crusade and ended up completing the missions to get our first secret mission. And since it isn't going to add any more difficulty, we'll start with that. Not going to add anything to it since the penalties are already starting to kick in.
The very existence of this filth defiles the Imperium. They may be great in numbers, but if we sever the head, the body will die. Kill their leaders and break their will.
So I'm wondering if I can take the Magistratum, the Void Shards that are the seasonal event ones, if I can just manually upgrade them to levels 3, 4, and 5, or if it's locked behind completing the seasonal challenges. Because if I can just get them manually and upgrade them that way, I'll just sit around and farm low-level ones and then just power them up. Because I would consider trying to rig up a sort of, like, Thunderbolt of Authority build. I think there's potential. I was looking at my perks too. If I didn't need the... Well, see, I could get away with not having the 55% damage bonus while in yellow Warp Heat state. And then I can put one that gives me 55% damage, or 50% damage to debuffed enemies, which would just give my staff a 50% damage up. And that is tempting, just because I can do so much with it. I don't know. There's a lot of options. As it stands, I have one that gives me vulnerability whenever I crit the enemy. So, physical damage creates physical vulnerability, so on and so forth. So I don't want to lose that, because that's so useful. And that synergizes... I actually need to look. Do I have it? I didn't finish this, oh my god. Yeah, because I need to get that and that for the 5% damage buff for each debuff. Oh my god, yeah, I could be doing so much more damage. Because, like, right here, I'd be getting a 5%. If I had the perk, I'd be getting 50. But I could also, when I'm fighting bigger enemies that really necessitate me putting a lot of damage and a lot of attacks down, kind of face-rolling my controller, I could really utilize that. Like right here, I could do with getting, like right there, I'd have 20% damage bonus. For, wow, I got nuked. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to be careful, because I have finite lives, period, I believe. So I can't be running and doing dumb stuff like that. I just hate Eldar. I hate how much teleporting they have. It gives them so much harassment, and then being able to break, like, lock-ons on them. It makes fighting them just tedious. And of course, they're not even, like, actual spawns. They're all just coming out of the Wave Serpent. And I could have the perk that lets me have a free revive, but then I'm giving up damage, and I really don't feel like giving that up for, honestly, instances I shouldn't be letting myself get into. That was a stupid mistake on my part. I think we get like 5 lives, so if I could lose 1 life here, and then I don't lose one for a good while, I think that's fine. I just have to be more careful. Yeah, honestly, of all the factions, I'd have to say I hate fighting Eldar the most. Because they just have everything. Durable enough melee guys, teleporting, little bit of flight, enough annoyances in every shape and form that you can't just build one way. Like, with guardsmen, I can pretty much just nuke them. You know, walk up, press circle, wave dead. Well, these guys are just durable enough that they survive my usual wave clear, or they're mixed enough that they don't stay clumped, so I can't just utilize one attack pattern and get them. I just hate these stupid web spinners. They're just the worst. Like, I'll deal with Wraithguard. They're annoying, they're durable, they're still easy to kill. But Warp Spiders just... like, oh, you looked at me, let me just teleport away. Or this. It's like, oh, I'm a range guy. I'm going to engage this enemy. Teleports right in front of you. And it's just like, huh? Why are you doing this? I've never seen an enemy, a ranged enemy, so eager to get themselves shot in the face. It's like, maybe don't do that. I feel like their AI was meant to, like, teleport around you and shoot you in the back. They just didn't get it right and were like, good enough. I just hate teleporting in general. Every game that includes enemies who teleport, I despise the enemies because I find it to just be a cheap mechanic. It happens in Destiny. The Fallen Captains do it, and I think it's just a cheap couple iframes for them to keep them alive longer. Just for, like, artificial health, essentially. Or bosses that get invincibility moments because they have, like, health, like a health gate where they hit a spot and it's like, okay, now we get to go to phase 2, so they'll stand around invincible for a couple seconds, then do something, and then it's like, oh, here's another wave of ads. And I just think they're very poorly designed. But of course, when it comes to Destiny, it was people complained that bosses were too bullet spongy, and then they made them not bullet spongy. But then you'd melt them, and then they'd have these forced phases, and I think there's no way of pleasing people. I think, honestly, there probably is a way to please people, and that would be to do a in-between of the two extremes. You have them spongy, but not as spongy as they were, and instead of phases, you just have ads spawning that ramp up as their health goes down, and it ramps up in enemy number and variety. You know, this way, if people want to stand there and just burn a boss down, they can still do it. It might be a little more difficult, but you're not punishing that playstyle. All the while, you're still making an encounter that gets tougher. But I mean, that's a classic challenge of game design. You know, to what degree do you do something? Finding a happy balance. And a lot of times it's tough to do. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, these devs should be ashamed of themselves, this is crap. Like, nah, it's tough. And you know, it's the inevitable fact that you cannot make everyone happy. Whether you are a YouTuber, a game designer, someone flipping burgers at McDonald's, or a stripper, or the president, you can't make everyone happy. The best you can do is do your best. That said, some people still don't do their best, but, you know, that's a different issue. For the most part, though, it's just, you know, you try. And in some cases, especially when it comes to games, a lot of times it's out of your hands. You know, you can suggest stuff, but if someone, I always hate it, their creative vision, if their creative vision is making something suck, they'll just be like, yeah, well, screw you, we're making it terrible. Because some people, once again, it's a curse I've brought up before, some people don't take criticism well. Some people treat what they make as their baby, and it's understandable. They put a lot of time and effort, but they take any criticism or suggestions as a personal insult. And that's not the thing, you know. When I suggest things, it's out of a love for a game, or it's out of love for an idea. It's not because I'm just sitting here. I can be a hater, but I'm not always a hater. Oh wow, so plague-ridden demons spawned by my abilities do actually drop loot. So that thing I suggested a long time ago of potentially farming, like, your own spawns is a thing. Here, I thought I was just being insane. Huh. Imagine my shock. We're gonna have to take this mission. There's no two ways around it. Yes, I could do that to run through here, but this one, I have to get to here to unlock this, and to unlock this, and chew through everything else. So we get to see an even higher difficulty increase. Not messing with swords. Don't care about exposed state. Alright, what do we want to do about my character, though? Because I could... See, I don't want to remove the progress I've made on AoE just to finish off my debuff work. We'll just leave it. There's no sense in me monkeying around with trying to reset and redo things. That's just going to cause more problems in the long run. I'd like to select the thing. Thank you. These menus were not made for controllers. Not in the slightest. Hey, loot quality bonus plus 5%. Callous Hunt. Hey, it's only... Yeah, because... Okay, yeah. Yeah, we'll toss some boosts on this one then. Enemies reflect heat damage. Cool, hit them with warp.
The enemies of the Imperium are infinite, and such a vast threat can only be fought with ingenuity. Kill the masters, and you will render a sea of vermin helpless.
See, this is the nice part, too, is by having warp as 1 damage, and then having some physical for that bleed proc, it makes these reflect damage penalties a lot more tolerable. Because then it's just like, oh no, we're gonna reflect your damage. Like, oh no, I have 3 damage types. You're only gonna really get me with 1, and I'll just switch it up on you. Man, now I really like I mentioned last week, the ability to fire 3 shots from a Psalm Doctrine, I really want to just start slapping that on every character, because I think there's so much potential in setting up just crazy attack setups. I mean, a prime one I can think of is the Tech Adept. The Tech Adept suffers so badly that I think, in terms of DPS, that I think getting that triple shot would make them... Oh my god, I just realized. So one of their weapons is a plasma caliver, I believe it is. And it's arguably the better one, because it's only one attack type, but you get more casting, so more summoning. And part of the fun part, I argue, is when it hits a target, it splits into 3 and leaves out the back of the enemy and can hit more targets. It doesn't continue splitting from that point, but, you know, you can hit a number of enemies real easy. And I'm just thinking, imagine sitting there doing that, but having that triple shot. So you shoot 3, hits potentially the same target or other multiple targets, those all break out, spread, and just obliterate waves. The only thing I can think of that's a problem is that gun itself doesn't have the best DPS for a single entity, but they also have the radium rifle. It's a radium rifles from Fallout. It's a radioactive, like, carbine. I can't remember the name of it. Once again, I haven't played that class in a long time. But there's definitely potential. I can see a lot of possibilities here for some crazy stuff. Wish this class had like a lingering... I know there are lingering damage abilities like this, but I would prefer just like a flat, hey, plop an AoE down, like flamers for the Crusader, where you can just plop an area down, it'll deal damage for a while. Or I think they get a melt-a-gun that does the same thing. I think that'd be really nice. I mean, realistically, you could set up so many abilities. I mean, a bunch of them could be almost direct rip-offs of abilities from guns. Because there are some good weapon abilities that I'd like to see, you know, being able to be used. Oh, that's such a great thing. Just this horde of termagants, and it's just like, nah. Just run through them. I mentioned it before, but I'd love to see, like, ice damage show up. But the only people I know that use it would be the Space Wolves with their Hellfrost weapons. I don't care though, those are awesome and I'd like to see them. Leave me alone, Toxicrin.
No pity.
Yeah, this time around we're making good progress, not dying. Keeping a shield... This shield is honestly a godsend. I'm glad I switched over to using that instead of mines. Even though mines can be useful, just always having the ability to get a big overshield on demand is astounding.
Inquisitor, electrospectral scanning revealed info fragments of high importance in close proximity.
I have no idea what that means. So I guess I just have to search the area, because I assume that's of some significance.
Soulbound warp.
Oh, I remember seeing a neat thing online on Twitter. It was, so back in, I think the early 2000s or the 90s, there was, a program that Games Workshop was running. And it was effectively, they called it, the Skulls Loyalty Program. And it was, collecting UPCs, box tops when you're a kid, for schools and stuff, but it was Warhammer products, and you could turn them in for, little things like a keychain where it's essentially just a scaled up part of a miniature, or one of the things, they had some exclusive miniatures, and one was a set of, AdMech guys, an expedition, I think. It was really cool. And this person's like, yeah, it's almost a complete set they managed to get. They're missing one miniature. And of course they're old, so they look just hideous. It's the only way I can describe them. Those old pewter miniatures just look gross. But it was cool. Stuff like that you don't see all the time. Especially something where it was effectively a very limited run item. Ooh, that's what we're looking for.
Scanning psalms have been executed and indicate essential info fragments, Inquisitor. Data has been inloaded.
That was a good find. Because that gives me, I believe it's information on the reward chests as to what's in them. I don't know if more than one can spawn, so I'm gonna just keep clearing the area. Also because I wanna get all the XP, because if you look at my XP bar, just killing those guys, I got a visual change on the bar, which I always take as a good sign. I'm so used to getting into fights where I'll get the kills and there's no change to my XP bar, and I'm like, oh, so that's how much XP we're earning. It's bad when your XP bar just doesn't visually move. Especially when a lot of games are programmed to show very small changes. And I mean, if we're going... This is ultra basic, mind you, for game design, but I mean, your HUD is a widget, or a series of widgets, and that bar would just be like a cosmetic bar on top and then one below it. So like an overlay. And then as, you know, your XP meter fills, you run the current number as a percentage, and then you have the meter fill to the according amount, or to the according percent. Like I said, that's a very, very bare bones description, but I mean, that's about all it really boils down to. The actual, like, XP and all that is handled elsewhere. That's just the visual representation. Honestly, I love talking about game design. It's something I've had a passion for years. And I think it's always interesting. Especially because I think a big way... This is how I've always kind of viewed comprehension of something. Is if you can explain it like you're explaining it to someone who's 5. That's not an attempted insult at anyone, but if you can break down complex mechanics into very simple things to understand, then you actually know them. If you have to sit here and use very convoluted ways of explaining things, then it starts to show not very well comprehension, or that was a terrible sentence, a lack of comprehension. Because then you're most likely just regurgitating what you've been told. And I think it's generally just kind of fun to be able to break down a mechanic and be like, oh yeah, that, my best guess, works like this. Sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes I'm right. Sometimes I don't know what the hell something is doing. But I think it's part of the fun. It's all a big puzzle. That's how a good friend of mine, his dad used to work as a lawyer. And I had asked him one time, I said, what made you become a lawyer? He said, well, everything becomes kind of like a puzzle, and I enjoy it. I enjoy doing puzzles. And I was like, oh, that's actually a really interesting way to view things. Because, I mean, everybody has their justifications for things. I contemplated becoming a pharmacist just because it pays well. And then I realized I can't do chemistry. Mostly because I'm bad at math. But I also had thought about it and realized, like, that was a terrible motivation. Like, yeah, money's great, but when all you do is do something for the money, you lose a drive to do it, is what I'm trying to get at. Recording right when the weekly rollover happens. Okay, oh my god, how many things am I gonna get here? They're all crap, too. Oh, that was something different. Okay. So. We got that. That's gonna be interesting. That's not a level change. And that'll get us to here, and we'll be able to... Oh, that's probably going to be a +1. I could almost guarantee it. But that'll be something interesting. But that is all for now. If you enjoy this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.